Hello all, welcome to this lesson on recording macros in Excel. Today we are covering the basics of macro recording. Macros are a fantastic way to automate your tasks in Excel. So it makes it easier basically to do your repetitive tasks. However, there are certain things that we need to consider when we are recording the macros. Normally, macros would work in a .xlsm format or a .xlsp format. Macros will not work in your normal .xlsx format. So in .xlsx file formats, your macros will not work. They'll only work in the extension is .xlsm or if it is .xlsp. .xlsm, the M stands for the macro enabled workbook, and this is a binary format. Binary format is largely used when the size of the file is huge. So whenever you have very big Excel files and huge amount of data, normally .xlsp formats are used wherever we are going to have macro intervention. So this is something that you can take a note of. Now let's look at a typical problem statement. Let's say that you want to select certain cells and you want to have it in a particular format. Let's say that you want to have it left indent, and let's say you want to have it in your middle align. Now, let's say that you want to have any kind of a custom format. You can have that as a part of your macros. Now, doing this every time, even if we are going to use keystrokes, is going to take a lot of time. So, even if you have keyboards, your keyboard strokes, let's say you want to go here, okay, you can use a shortcut, but then so many shortcuts that you're going to use are going to consume and add up the time. So, let's do one thing. Let's try to create a macro for this. So, the problem statement is that every time I create a new sheet, I want to run a macro, and that will format my cells in a particular format. In a particular style. So having decided it should be left and center, let's first go to the developer tab. Let's go to record macro. And this name of a macro should not start with a number. It can start with an underscore, but it should not be any other character, and it should not have any spaces in between. So let's call it first record, and let's give it a name. Now, Control plus, there are several shortcut keys that are already assigned and reserved by Microsoft Excel. So you can have something like Control Shift S or Control Shift A. Like this, you can have the shortcut, and you can store this macro either in this workbook. That means that this macro will only be applicable in this workbook. It will run only in this workbook, in the confines of this workbook, or you can store it in a new workbook. That means a brand new workbook wherein this macro will be stored, or you can have in a personal macro workbook. Now this is a very interesting thing. Let's say that this macro has to be used every time in every workbook, and you don't want to copy this macro from this workbook to another. You can use this option. So people like right now go only with this workbook, and we will give a description that it left and center aligns the cells, okay, and say let's press OK, and now let's select all cells and let's go to home, let's go to align left and middle align, and now let's go to developer and let's say stop recording. Now this macro will be available as this name. How would we run this macro? We had kept a shortcut for it, Control Shift A. So let's say we go to the next workbook, we say Control Shift A, and this macro will work. Now if we click on any cell and check the indentation, it would be as we had set. Thanks a lot for watching this video and hope it has helped you understand some of the basics of where you can use the macro. In the next part, we will see what are the other ways in which we can record the macro. Thanks a lot.